Hey guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. In this video I'll be going through the Essendon vs Collingwood Anzac Day draw. And yeah, what a game this was. Essendon skipped out to, what was it, something like a 19-point quarter-time lead or so, mostly because Collingwood couldn't kick to save themselves. And then Collingwood came rearing back in the second, still couldn't kick accurately, Collingwood. And Essendon, I think, were, 6 goals, 6 or something, 7 goals, 6 something at that point. And then, and then second half, I don't think it got out further than 10 points or so. It was really it's going to be game of the round, obviously, with it being a draw, and it being topsy-turvy and everything in between. And I think this really did show Essendon are up there. It does, I think, put Collingwood in a weird space. They're going to be probably 8th or 9th after this round. Essendon are going to be around that, 6th or 7th, probably 6th or so, I reckon. Let me just check the live ladder now, or the ladder as of time of recording, and Essendon are 6th with Port able to jump them, so yeah, 6th or 7th for Essendon. And yeah, I think that Collingwood, given that they've got Gold Coast, Fremantle and Western Bulldogs behind them, I reckon Collingwood will drop a space there, and drop down to roughly around that 9th or 10th marker. But yeah, what a game this was, and really did sort of put a show on for Anzac Day, given that the game following it was pretty much a blowout, especially in the second half. But anyway, before we get into this video, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload, and let's get into this recap. So, Zachy Merritt, 125, and this guy, he got back his midfield role. They took out Caldwell and put in Stringer, and I'll bring up the splits for midfield time. So let me just bring that up while I'm talking here. But Merritt, 125, he was pretty good throughout the day and got the Anzac medal. I thought the Anzac medal could have honestly gone to about 4 or 5 different players. Langford, if he kicks that goal to end the game, he gets it. If Myercheck kicks truly and doesn't kick 3 goals 3 with 2 out of bounds on the full, if he kicks, say, 5 goals 3 or 5 goals 4 or whatever, then he probably gets it as well. Nick Dacos, if that last mark had been taken by Jamie Elliott and he kicked a goal, Nick Dacos probably gets it. Nick Martin could have also even got it as well. There was so many guys that could have got it. Even Andy McGrath would have got close as well in that. I think there was 15. There was 5 voters, 6 votes each, so there's 30 votes. It could have honestly been a 5-5-5-5-5 tie or whatever across 5 or 6 guys. It was that close, and I think Merritt just being a captain, knowing his performance week in, week out, and him getting 9 tackles as well as 30-odd disposals probably tipped it over the edge. Whereas other guys were huge sort of late on, and they needed sort of their side to get over the line to get the medal. So let's just look at this here. The Brisbane ones, that's Melbourne, that's Richmond. Where are they? Collingwood CBAs. Okay, so this one will have the GWS, Collingwood, Essendon CBAs. Merritt 78.6%. That's exactly the range that you want him in. You want that 70 to 85% range as an inside mid. Stringer 75% coincided with Caldwell 25%, so they sort of took up one spot there. Durham and Parrish at 60.7%, Goldstein and DeRaper at the combining for 100%. So it looks like basically, mathematically, Durham, Parrish and Merritt combined for 2 slots, and Stringer and Caldwell offset each other for 1 slot there. So yeah, I don't like that Caldwell's got Stringer there. Stringer obviously does work well in the centre, because he's a really powerful runner and a line breaker. But it doesn't help Caldwell, although Caldwell still scored a 71 as you see here, so it wasn't totally poor. He still will probably average 85 across the year, given that he's averaging roughly about 85 at that time of recording. But I don't know if it's going to be because he might average sort of 85 from this point onwards. But you may see a McRae and other guys that average sort of 90, 95. So you may be leaking 5 to 10 points, but it's not a must up. It's not a must trade out event at the moment. It's more about getting rookies at the moment, and then you can trade them out in the coming weeks. Sort of around the buys that you can trade them out. McGrath 1, 2, 3. He's sort of done these performances. And he's finally actually turned into sort of a 90s guy. He was an 80s guy last year, I believe, priced at 720 to start the year, and he's finally started to turn out these bigger scores. So he's priced, what's he priced at? Sort of that 800k or so range, 770. He's going to go up towards that 800k range. Nick Martin, again, huge last quarter, got brought into the forward line when Harry Jones went down, and I think Harry Jones sort of, his injury sort of encapsulates why the sub rule needs to get in the bin, because they almost had to rush the doctor for a concussion test because they needed another guy out there because it was a close game, and they wanted the subs. They wanted to be able to do the full complement of interchanges and have the four rolling on the bench, whereas with him down there, they couldn't, so they had to almost rush a concussion test, and that's not what the sub was brought in for. And I think the sub is just causing absolute chaos because you're sort of taking away a lot of guys are debuting from the sub. It's sort of, which isn't a confidence booster. A lot of guys are getting subbed out that are rookies as well. And also it doesn't really do its job as a injury sort of prevention or mitigation, to be honest with you. So I just think I think it actually does the opposite, and it forces them to make the doctors to make quick, hasty calls. Parrish 107, Heppel 103, Langford 83. You know, these guys don't really matter, to be honest. Parrish maybe a little bit, but he's so low that I think his role, I think, is so... It's not the proper role that you want. It's about 10 to 15% lower than what you want. So I'm not touching that. I thought I would touch him to start the year, pick him up to start, but he was injured, and it was Merritt, the one that went on fire. Langford, Cox, Stringer, Durham, Dersma, Caldwell, these sort of guys, as you see here. Dersma, I remember a couple of weeks ago, people were picking him up after that 120, and he's gone like 40 and 70, so I wouldn't go near him. This is why we don't go near wingers that don't have an on-ball role. Caldwell, 71, we talked about him. Kelly, Draper, Wright, Redmond, man, he's really lost his role with Martin down there, as well as McGrath. Martin and McGrath really do sort of kick the ball a little bit better than the likes of Redmond, and that's why I think he's lost his role. And then you get Gresham 52, Jones, Laverde, Hobbs, Mackay, Goldstein, Allen, Davey. I thought Davey was pretty good actually. As a small forward, it's tough to sort of get your name in and amongst it, but I thought he was alright. Obviously had a couple of moments he'll take back, but I thought his pressure was pretty good on the day. And then Hind came on and did a little bit of work down back. Then we moved to Collingwood and Nick Dacos. I did, I think I'm going to have to own up to this. I did in my, whoopsie, not that one. I want to go that way. I did in the end change from my actual initial trades, and you'll see Nick Dacos here, as well as Jack McRae is back in there. It was at one point Nick Dacos and Caldwell, and then it went from Caldwell and McRae to Dacos and Caldwell, then to Dacos and McRae, just because I was worried with something with Caldwell, given the potential returns, as well as just something about the Caldwell just seemed a little bit off. So I'm happy that I didn't go there, but for all the people that did, I don't think it's as bad as what it seems. But yeah, Dacos 98, he got there or thereabouts, and yes, it does suck that he went 98 and didn't go big, but at the end of the day, it wasn't the worst, let me put it that way, and he's gotten through a tough matchup, and I think that he will, a tough-ish matchup, and now he's got, who does he have next week? He's got Carlton next week, then the Eagles. I think he turns around this form sometime soon, and I still think he's close. He's not performing his greatest, but he's close on being a top 6 defender anyway. So, once he gets the marks, because I think he only had like 1 mark, once he gets the 3, 4, 5 marks a game, as well as 5 tackles, as well as sort of that 28 to 30 touches, that's when he gets the really big high numbers in fantasy. Pendlebury really turned it on in the latter half. He went more into the midfield and started to really get the ball. Myercheck, 85. He just really could have scored a lot more. All of his goals, well, sorry, 2 of his goals in the second. He could have honestly ended up with about 5 or so, as we said earlier. Jagoe, 84, really fell apart in the last, but he was pretty good outside of that. Moore, 81. Noble, Josh Dacos, Schultz, Cameron, Maynard, Lipinski, Howe, Elliott, Crisp. Tom Mitchell subbed out, and I thought this wasn't going to work, but I thought Harvey Harrison came on, and I thought he really did show out and really did show that he is there and a possible new blood to that midfield as, or was he playing out well in wing? I don't know exactly his positioning, but yeah, he looked really good and he got a goal for himself as well. Hill didn't have the best game, only a 48. McCreary didn't really do anything substantial, but that outside of that goal he kicked in the last quarter when, who was it? Who slipped? It wasn't Mackay. It might have been Hine that slipped at that point. Let me just check. When did Hine come on? I don't know if it was necessarily Hind or who was it, but someone slipped. Yeah, it might have been Hobbs or someone. Someone slipped and he kicked a goal for himself. Mason Cox didn't really do terribly much, and then you have Will Hoskin Elliott, nothing much. Quaynor, Harrison, and then Frampton. He almost kicked a goal from a 100-meter penalty or something like that. And then Sidebottom with a 29. Sidebottom really didn't do anything, didn't get involved at all, and yeah, lucky to get a 29 after having 4 touches in the last quarter. Yeah, so he really just didn't have a good game. But anyway, that pretty much is the video there going through the Essendon versus Collingwood game, and I will see you guys for the next recap of the GWS versus Brisbane demolition from the Giants as they go 6-1 and start to create a gap to teams like Essendon and Collingwood. So I'll see you guys back for that recap. Bye, guys.